Motorcycles are not generally seen as good financial decisions, but they were never intended to be. You buy one because it looks cool, it sounds awesome, and because you think it'll turn you into a more interesting version of yourself that will mog all of your non-riding friends, and that's totally worth paying for. But within that already questionable decision, there's plenty of opportunity to make things much, much worse. Some choices will cost you thousands up front. Others will slowly drain your bank account day by day. And a few of these mistakes will put you in such a deep hole that you'll just sell the bike at a loss just to be done with the whole damn thing. So today, I'm gonna rank the most common motorcycle financial decisions. Think of me as Yammy Ramsey for today. Dave Ramsey? One of those. I'm your financial guru for two wheels today. We're going to talk about those things that are surprisingly smart to borderline catastrophic. And the scary part is, most of these don't even feel like mistakes when you make them. Let's jump in. Okay, so we all know performance mods are rarely a good financial choice. Full exhaust, intake, ECU flash, dyno tune, the whole unlocking your bike's true potential package just to get like 8 horsepower. And I get it. You love the bike. You want more out of it. You want it to feel special, like you've taken it beyond what Uncle Sam allowed from the factory. But the math never works out in your favor. You can spend thousands chasing performance you'll barely notice on the street, and even if it does feel better, that money doesn't come back if you sell. These mods don't increase resale value. In a lot of cases, it actually makes it worse. Most buyers would rather have a stock, unmolested bike. This is a D-tier financial decision. Not catastrophic, but one of the easiest ways to burn money with almost no return. One of the smartest financial moves you can make, on the other hand, is buying a slightly used bike. Not a clapped out 15-year-old project bike that's had 6 owners, but a bike that's a few years old, clean, and mostly stock. These bikes have already taken a depreciation hit, so the second owner gets nearly the same experience for thousands of dollars less without all the dealership fees stacked on top. And the reality is, a lot of motorcycles barely get ridden. Someone buys one, puts a couple thousand miles on it, then loses interest. People have short attention spans, and very few people are lifelong motorcyclists. So you can swoop in and get a practically new bike for a lot less money. Benefiting from someone else's mistake is an easy S-tier decision, and it's why we tell you guys to do it on this channel all the time. Since we're talking used bikes, let me be very clear. Do not buy someone else's project bike. It sounds fun, right? Garage nights, classic rock on the radio, a couple beers with the boys, slowly bringing a classic machine back to life. Wow, what a dream. It's actually a fantasy. The reality is, you bought a cheap bike that's going to become an expensive money pit quickly. It needs parts, then different parts when the first ones didn't fit. Then you need tools that you didn't even know existed. Who owns a bearing puller? Do I need to call Ari Henning for this one? Then hours chasing problems the previous owner couldn't solve either. And even if you finish it, the bike is almost never worth what you put back into it. It's not a budget build, it's an open-ended expense with no finish line. F tier, every time. Don't do this. Buying a brand new motorcycle often feels like the right thing to do. It's the safe bet. No miles, no questionable history, no previous owner who did God knows what to the exhaust pipe behind the shed after the sun went down. You get warranty, a peace of mind, and that brand new bike smell. Burning assembly grease. But financially, it just doesn't stack up to the smart used buy. The second you ride off the lot, the bike depreciates. A lot. Plus, you're paying dealer fees, freight, setup, all those line items that magically show up on your purchase order. You're paying the most for something that will be immediately worth less. But there are benefits, without a doubt. It's not the absolute worst decision, but it's also not super savvy either. There's definitely times there is a point to buying brand new. I've bought brand new bikes myself. I've bought used bikes. I've done it all. I would consider this one C tier. But of course, there is nuance to buying new. If you're able to secure a good rate and put down a reasonable down payment, I know, probably not in this economy, right? Or maybe you pay cash outright like a total Chad. In that case, a lot of the negative aspects of buying new aren't as devastating. If you're able to buy a new bike without accruing a massive amount of debt and interest, it's more of like a B tier decision. On the other hand, if you buy a brand new bike with a 72-month loan at 20% APR after signing up for every bogus extra warranty or service plan the dealer offered you, then that is straight to F tier. This is one of the worst motorcycle-related decisions you can make. Talk about being underwater on a loan. People will drive off the lot on an R3 with a $10,000 loan. A used R3 costs like $4,000. It's a terrible move. This is why you see people selling practically new beginner bikes for $7,000 or $8,000 on Marketplace, because they're trying to get out from under some terrible loan they took on. Don't let that happen to you. F tier. Gear is one of those areas where spending more upfront is actually a good move. A lot of people try to save money at the start. They buy a cheap, crappy helmet, Temu jacket, Amazon gloves, only to replace everything a year later when it wears out or they get clowned on by all their friends. So now you've bought everything twice. Congratulations. Good gear lasts longer, performs better, and you're far less likely to feel the need to upgrade immediately. Plus, it does a better job of protecting you, which is probably a good thing, right? Less money on medical bills? Maybe. Kind of a smart move. We think getting brand new gear, good quality gear, A-tier move financially speaking. It's not the most exciting decisions, but it is a smart one that you can make. It's like they say, buy cheap, buy twice. There's all these damn squids nowadays that think that buying a leader bike that they will grow into is a smart financial move. They'll say, well, I don't have to buy another bike in just a few months when I outgrow my beginner bike. First of all, you won't outgrow a bike that fast. Secondly, you won't be saving any money if you're dead. In reality, those riders who start on too big of a bike to save money end up not riding at all. And maybe that might be the best financial decision. Just don't ride a motorcycle. Or selling it, and then buying something a little more realistic. Either way, it's not a smart financial move to go and buy some leader bike as your first bike and grow into it. D tier.
Woo-hoo-hoo, boys, I'll tell you what, I never get tired of listening to this Aprilia 210 V4. It sounds so good. And if you want to make it sound so good in your own driveway, it is a giveaway bike on my website, yammynoob.co. Click the link down below, become a member today, support the show, and get access to win our incredible Aprilia 210 V4 factory. Now let's get back to the show.
Not all mods are created equal. Expensive performance mods that net little performance gains are not advisable, but there are quite a few reasonable mods that can improve your ride without breaking the bank. Maybe a modest slip-on to improve the sound and shed a few pounds, or maybe a little windscreen for touring comfort, or a tail tidy to clean up the tail section. Little changes that make your bike feel more personal or enjoyable. These typically don't cost a small fortune, and you get a greater sense of ownership. You get to bolt some parts on, feel good about your bike. But financially, you're not going to get that money back. Small mods and farkles can add up over time, and just like performance mods, they rarely increase resale value, if at all. But it's far from a big financial mistake. Most riders would say these little mods are well worth paying over time, and I think it's an A-tier decision. Change your bike out, have some fun, life's short. Now, if you ride long enough, you start looking at more exotic and premium motorcycles, maybe an MV Agusta or a vintage Ducati in need of Desmo and timing belt service. These bikes are awesome, there's no denying that, but they only make sense if you can also afford to take care of them. Maintenance is more frequent and much more costly. Parts are expensive and harder to come by. Labor is expensive if you can't do it yourself. People will stretch their budget to buy the more interesting bike, but not have the funds left over to take care of it. Remember, you bought a crazy Italian motorcycle. Just because it's 10 years old doesn't mean the maintenance isn't going to be crazy Italian. So now you got a bike that you're afraid to ride and you can't afford to fix. Finding yourself in this predicament is a D-tier financial decision if you're not prepared for the full ownership experience. So constantly getting new motorcycles is not all it's cracked up to be. You buy a bike, ride it for a single season, maybe less, before quickly getting bored and selling it to move on to the next. Before you know it, you've owned 5 bikes in 2 years. Sure, it's fun to get a taste of all the awesome motorcycles out there, but every time you sell a bike, chances are you're losing some money on it. It depreciates as mileage goes up and it takes on some wear and tear, and you move on so quickly you don't have the opportunity to ever get the whole ownership experience. All those little transactions dealing with private sellers or dealerships, trips to the DMV, taxes, phone calls with your insurance agent are all a massive time suck too. Constantly changing bikes isn't the end of the world, but it's also not the smartest move. I think this one's C tier. Doing your own maintenance is one of the easiest ways to save money in motorcycling. oil changes, fluid flushes, brake pad swaps. This is all really basic stuff. A basic set of tools will pay for itself quickly after the first service. Beyond saving money, it's also an opportunity to learn. You understand your bike, you feel a sense of accomplishment and ownership. Plus, I am of the belief that the fewer times you have to go to a dealership ever in your life, the better off you will be. Even just by tackling the basics yourself, the chance to save some money is very real. Doing your own maintenance is easily an A-tier financial decision. One of the smartest things you can do financially is own a motorcycle long term. Avoid the upgrade cycle. Don't chase the next best thing. Find the peace that comes from accepting what you have and where you're at in life. Actually, that's probably a bigger lesson that goes beyond just motorcycling. Be grateful and happy for what you got. The longer you keep a motorcycle, the less you have to pay for. Owning a bike outright and only having to pay for fuel and consumables is a great feeling. Your insurance will stay the same or maybe even go down as your bike depreciates. As long as you keep those speeding tickets and crashes to a minimum at least, life's pretty good. The longer you own a bike, the more it will feel like yours. You'll be able to rely on it as your trusty steed. Financially, it's about as good as it gets. No loans, no payments, no fees. Your motorcycling has a set cost and you know what to expect each month. And it's not a whole lot either. And it's why you guys saw me own a Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled for like 6 years. I don't really like swapping bikes that often. Owning a bike long term is easily an S-tier decision. Not thinking about insurance until you've already bought the bike is never gonna work out well. You've put your deposit down at the dealership or budgeted for months to buy that sweet sport bike on Marketplace. And then once it's time to make things official, you get a few quotes and your stomach drops when you see what it's gonna really cost to insure. This situation has two equally bad outcomes. On the one hand, you can bite the bullet and pay those crazy insurance premiums. If you've already committed to buying a sport bike from a dealership with a loan, you'll have no choice but to maintain pricey full coverage. This is how young squids end up paying as much per month for insurance as they do towards their loan. I have seen some crazy numbers online. Guys spending $700-800 a month on their bike for the payment and then another $600 a month on the insurance. Like, buddy, what are you doing? On the other hand, if you can own your bike outright, you can choose to not carry full coverage because it's too expensive. And then if something happens to your bike, like a crash or a theft, you're not getting any money from your insurance company and you're on the hook for any damage or repairs. Many riders end up having to just total it out with no insurance payout because they were underinsured and crashed their bike. No matter how you slice it, it's pretty bad. I'd say this is D tier. And finally, one of the worst financial decisions you can make as a motorcyclist is rolling negative equity into another bike. If you take away anything from this video, it's that debt is bad. Debt is literally slavery, and many loans are predatory. It's already hard enough to recommend someone finance a motorcycle in the first place, but financing a motorcycle while also rolling negative equity into a new loan is absolutely terrible. This happens when you owe more on your current bike than what it's worth. So, when you trade it into the dealership to get a new one, they carry that underwater balance you had on the loan over into the new loan for the new bike. This is how people end up with a $15,000 loan on a $10,000 bike. So you're immediately upside down on that right from the jump. So you're not upgrading your bike, you're digging yourself into a financial hole. And honestly, I think this should probably just be illegal. I don't know how this is allowed, but it's really predatory. And imagine combining that with like a worse interest rate after you already just had the other one too. This can get out of hand really fast. People do this with cars a lot too. Don't do that either. This is straight up F tier in every possible way. Motorcycling is supposed to be a fun, enjoyable hobby. Rolling negative equity into a motorcycle loan is a decision that's gonna follow you for years and negatively impact your life as a whole. It's a terrible choice. Don't do it. Papa Yam's begging you. So look, let's be real, riding motorcycles is never going to be a smart financial decision, but there are some choices that will make it a whole lot worse if you're not careful. If you're going to spend the money in the first place, avoid getting burned somewhere else too. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of today's video. As always, I do appreciate it, and I will catch you on the next one. Fact: a chicken once lived for 18 months without a head. Goodbye.